Welcome to a Fantasy Fan Sportscast with Easy and Lou Landers. Now enjoy the show, but don't forget our safe word.
That's right. Don't forget the safe word. Today's safe word is going to be 2 words, David Price. When we say David Price at the end of this show, you know we're done. So if anything starts going crazy, just say David Price and we'll get out of this in a hurry. Welcome to the Legend Sports. You're tapping out already after last week. Welcome to the Legend Sports Network. This is the Fantasy Fan Sportscast, the easy on a Sunday morning edition at Lenny Melnick, fantasysports.com. I am joined by my co-host that's everywhere on the Legend Sports Network, and that's Lou Landers at Landers Talks. Lou, I already asked about your new couch. We had issues last week, but what's the deal with that jersey you got on?
The jersey, well, firstly, I'm wearing it to get a rise out of you because you don't like the Steelers as a Bengals fan. It's my Bumblebee Brown jersey. Actually, my fiance's Bumblebee Brown jersey that I'm stealing today.
Oh, I see. You're borrowing it. And I have that first on my notes because I am in the Cincinnati area. And, first of all, let's just throw out there to the people of Pittsburgh, the incident that happened, there in that town, it's pretty big deal. So thoughts and prayers. I know there's people out there that, question the word thoughts and prayers, but what else do you say? You know what? We're thinking about you. Yeah, it is just football, but when those kind of things happen, communities come together. And again, around here, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Cleveland, a lot of rivalry going on. But when things like this happen, actually, I think rivalries come together, so it's a pretty big deal here in this area, when you hear about those kind of things happening in a city that your team, has a rivalry with. So, thoughts going out there and glad you got the shirt on just to maybe support the Pittsburgh people also. So thanks again.
That's the real reason why I'm wearing it, of course. Support for the tragedy that did happen in Pittsburgh. And again, thoughts and prayers definitely go out to all those people. Glad you brought that up. I was hoping you would. And you know what? You're absolutely right, because when the Boston Marathon bombing went down, I mean, I'm as big a Yankee fan as there is. I'm not a big fan of Boston sports teams, but of course, you battle and you feel for the people in that city and all the people who are affected by such a tragedy.
Right. I mean, and again, it doesn't matter what towns it happens in. We have concerns, but believe it or not, when it is rivalry cities, there is a little bit of a connection there. And maybe that doesn't seem right to some people, but there is. Nobody wants to see anything like that happen anywhere. But like I said, when it's a city that your team competes with all the time and their fans come, Cincinnati, the stadium, Paul Brown and the Reds, when the Reds play Pittsburgh, the stands are full of Pittsburgh fans. So they come here, we go there. So it's a big deal. It's not that far of a drive for a game.
Fans, they travel well. Absolutely. And of course, E.T., we do have a football game going on right now. Another London game. The Eagles are beating the Jags right now by 9 points, but the Jags are driving in the red zone, first and goal here, just like my First and Goal podcast. That's why I call it the First and Goal podcast. It's first and goal.
Right, it's always first and goal.
Running, and he gets down to the 6. Looks like if the Jags score a touchdown here, they will make it a one-possession game. They'd be down by less than a field goal. We could get a really exciting finish here in the early game here. Wentz has had a very nice game so far, as has Jeffrey, Ertz, Goddard, even Wendell Smallwood.
And Bortles, every time I look over, he's running again, and he ran a lot in the first quarter. I'm sure he's got some yards if you started him. But again, Lenny Melnick, fantasysports.com. Go to the chat room, put your sit start questions in there, because that kind of the second half of the show, we try to just barrel right through everything that's posted there in the chat room. But because it's a pretty baseball oriented chat room, obviously we can't we can't start too much yet until a quick World Series note from you. A lot of innings the night before. Then last night, obviously, the Dodgers came out, went way up. Then Boston just took over. Again, I know we're football mode and all that, but just give me a quick comment. We would, like I said, definitely I think we'd be cheating the chat room if we didn't say one baseball thing, since there's been 2 World Series games since the last baseball podcast.
Yes, and a lot of people will say the Dodgers got to where they are right now because of sabermetrics, because of the way that they've done things all year. But come playoff time, especially come World Series time, you got to throw all that stuff out the window, man. You got to do what you got to do to win the ball game. And I think the biggest mistake, and a lot of people say, oh, Hill shouldn't have even started the 6th inning because the 3rd time through a lineup. No way. During the regular season, absolutely, I'm with you. But you ride the hot hand. He did strike out Eduardo Nunez to record that first out in the 7th. There was a lefty up in Brock Holt. You don't go to another left-handed pitcher when you already have one on the mound that's pitching as well as Rich Hill did. That was the initial downfall. Reliever came in, threw 4 straight balls. They go to Ryan Madsen, Mr. Home Run, and he gave up the 3-run bomb. And, the Dodgers made a lot of mistakes in this game, more so Dave Roberts making the mistakes and then his guys not, coming through for him. But let's also give credit to the Boston Red Sox, who are just a terrific baseball team, and this is their year. It's one of those years where you just look at this team, the way they're put together. They may not be the best team on paper, but they're the best team.
Right.
It's their year, and they're going to win this series. I thought it might go to 6. I think it's over tonight.
All right. I mean, hey, there's a lot of people that are saying that, but, because the Dodgers really, other than the game they won, and they were only up, by 1 run at any time in that game. I mean, I think last night they were up, was it 3-1 or 4-0? I think
they were up 4-0 after Yasiel.
Okay, so 4, that's the most they've been up. So
I know they're easy. Dodgers only team in Major League Baseball this season to not lose a game when winning by 4 or more runs.
All right. And like I said, I think the game's tonight. I'm going to say 7:30. I thought I saw 7:30. Maybe that's just when the pregame stuff comes on.
8:05, probably on the East Coast. Of course, we have a rematch of Game 1, Kershaw and Sale. Should be a great game. I expect them both to pitch better than they did in Game 1, specifically Kershaw being at home. I think that he will take a page out of what Rich Hill did yesterday, try and throw a lot of breaking balls the same way that Rich Hill did. I think this game is going to come down to how much length Chris Sale gives, and if the Dodgers just have enough fight in them at this point, because all the momentum was with the Dodgers heading into last night, was through the first 6 innings, but Red Sox has completely taken that back over, and they know even if they were to lose this game with Sale on the mound, they go home to Fenway, where they dominated the Dodgers, where the Dodgers looked overmatched with that cold weather, where they will have David Price, who has been very good for them, where they will be able to use Eovaldi in Game 7 or in relief in Game 6. I think it's going to be impossible for the Dodgers to come back and win this series if they'd be lucky to force it to go back to Boston, in my opinion.
All right. And, not to, push my other shows, but Tuesday night we do a round table at 10 o'clock at night for the people of the Legend Network. And one of our topics, we are going to talk off-season sports, and then we're going to bring up and talk a little bit about, especially in the World Series, but I think all the sports. Should there be a set site where we play the World Series, where the weather is consistent and all that, so that one team's not favored or anything like that? We're not going to get into that now. It'll be something we talk about Tuesday. Because I've heard both arguments, so we'll go that way. Let's just talk football now. The first thing I got a question is, and kind of starts at issues, is there's a lot of injury questions in the Monday night game, and obviously some name players. So let me just ask that real quick: Are you playing or not playing Gronk, McCoy, Ivory, Gordon, Michelle? And unless I missed any of the major people in that game, and how would that affect people that you're playing today? Because that is obviously a Monday night game. You're not going to know most of those players until, tomorrow, as far as actual active or inactive.
Well, we'll start with Michelle, who I believe is officially ruled out of this game. I believe the backfield is going to be James White and Kenyon Barner for the Patriots. So that I wouldn't worry about. With Gronk, it's a tough question. He's going to be a game time decision. Some teams, if you have Gronk, you know he's injury prone, you grab another tight end. If you have a capable tight end that you can play today, I would consider doing it because I wouldn't take the risk of potentially getting a 0 tomorrow from him. If you're a McCoy owner, you should also be an Ivory owner. That's your mistake. If you don't own them both, then that's your mistake. As for me, I'm a McCoy owner. I have him in my lineup right now, but I also have Chris Ivory. So I don't have to make a decision on who to play today because I put Chris Ivory in if McCoy is out. One of them, if not both, will be suiting up for this game.
Well, I have him in a game where I got him in a trade yesterday. A guy who has to win offered me a trade. I traded Doug Martin and Yeldon for McCoy because I think both of those are going to have issues moving forward. And I think McCoy, I didn't need to play him this week, but would like to. The problem is it's him or Cobb in my flex, and I'm not sure. And that's my next question: is the Green Bay injury issues and or just their wide receiver issues? Cobb is obviously coming back. Is he actually going to play? Is he just going to be active? I saw you earlier in the chat room saying originally you might play him. Now you're saying you wouldn't play him. Do you think that's because he's not going to play, or are you afraid he might just be in there for a couple of plays?
It's because I have an alternative that is a safer play. If I have Randall Cobb with all the bye weeks, if I can use him in my flex, I still would. The difference is that for me, in one league, I have Phillip Lindsay. I can play the flex. In another league this week, I'm playing Greg Olsen in the flex. The Ravens have been very soft at covering tight ends, although they dominate versus wide receivers and running backs. They haven't been good versus the tight ends. So it's really more so the alternatives. And the question in the chat room was from Cubby. I know you might be listening, buddy. I hope you're having a good time with your daughter today. His question was Julian Edelman or Randall Cobb. To me, there's no question. You go with Edelman because there isn't any sort of injury risk. But if you have Randall Cobb, I do think he's going to be good for a solid, 4 catches, 60, 70 yards, safe floor, in my opinion. I think he is going to play. I think he's going to run a lot of routes. But of course, for Green Bay, to me, really the guys you want today are Jimmy Graham and Devontae Adams.
What? And again, I'll just throw mine out there. My choice, because of bye weeks, is McCoy, Cobb, or Kyle Rudolph. I mean, that's really my flex. One of those three. I know it's not pretty. Now, the good thing is I am projected to win pretty big, so I don't know if that's good or bad that I take a chance. The good thing is I don't have to decide on Cobb till 4 o'clock. So obviously if they totally make him active, that helps. I also have, 3 or 4 people going at one. If I get a lot of points, I could it's a double-edged sword. You could risk, if you're already up a bunch, you could risk, I'll take a chance on McCoy on Monday if I don't get any from him. But at the same time, that means you don't need that many from Cobb, even if he's in there on, half the downs he might normally be.
If you don't have Chris Ivory, I wouldn't risk having LaShawn McCoy in your lineup because, again, even if he does play, what is his outlook?
But isn't McCoy or isn't Ivory also? I think he's active, but he has had health issues also this week, hasn't he?
Yes, he's been banged up, but Ivory is expected to play for sure. They do think McCoy is going to play too, but in the off chance that he doesn't and you don't have Ivory, I would go with the guy that you have. Is going to be playing today. And if you have Randall Cobb, I think the safe play is to use him, not take the chance of getting the 0 from McCoy. And again, McCoy, the outlook for those Bills running backs, how good is it really going to be? Bills are going to be playing from behind in this game. How much are they going to really rush the football? McCoy may have more than 10 or 12 touches.
What about also if you're a Gronk owner, what about Charles Clay? I mean, obviously there's a big difference, but, to be able to start Gronk to me is a better option, knowing that if it doesn't happen, I'll throw Clay in there. Same thing. I think they're going to have to throw the ball. And again, they have some issues. You just need to, if you get a touchdown out of him and 35 yards, I think most people will be happy with that for a guy they pick up off waivers on a Monday morning.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't love Charles Clay, but that's exactly the type of move you should make. That's a very smart move. Pick him up knowing that if Gronk doesn't play, you don't have to worry about playing someone on Sunday. You can throw Charles Clay in. And we know easy that after the first 6, 7, 8 maybe top tight ends week to week, it's kind of a crapshoot.
Right.
And really Charles Clay than, Gerald Everett or Tyler Higbee or Chris Herndon Vernon Davis, Nick Vanett, Jesse James, Ricky Seals-Jones. I mean, I would probably prefer Clay over any of those guys.
Right, and that's what that was the person that sent me a message this morning. They their issue is Jones, Ricky Seals-Jones or Clay off of waivers, and obviously they have Gronk, and that's where I told them that I would pick up Clay and still hope to play Gronk, because there's been a lot of good reports last night and this morning that he's saying he's going to play, that he's committed. And to me, that's half the battle. If I know the team makes the final thing, but the players, when they hem haul around, it's a little harder to make a decision. But when the players come out and say I'm 100%, then I'm willing to take a little more gamble on what's going to happen. So,
and Double A messaged me this morning and asked me about what I think of Gronk's status, and I told him I'm pretty damn sure Gronk is going to play in that football game. But again, beating a dead horse here with the McCoy situation, with the Gronk situation, the only way to be safe is by having an alternative that also plays in that football game. And
again, to me, Clay's better of a backup tight end to have, other than I'm trying to think who the other Patriots tight end. It just seems like when Gronk's not in there, what they have now doesn't seem to do anything. So.
No, it's too risky. At least with Clay, he's been in that offense. He's a security blanket, so to speak. I mean, do I think he's going to have a good game? Not necessarily, but again, if the Pats go up big, there will be some room for guys like Calvin Benjamin and for Charles Clay.
Right.
Some garbage time points.
Only because we started this with Green Bay. What about Scantling? With everyone being healthy now, is he startable at all?
I wouldn't use him until you see how they work him in with everybody healthy. In fact, I dropped him in all of these season-long leagues that I have him in. There's no need for me to use him at this point, especially because I own Randall Cobb in a bunch of leagues. If you don't own Cobb, Adams, or Allison, and you want to have a potential guy on your bench, if one of them get injured again, sure, you can roster Valdes-Scantling. But until we see what his route running percentage is, what his snap count is, with everybody healthy, I think it's far too risky.
All right, let's go to the Detroit offense. To me, they have a lot of sit-start questions because their wide receivers all seem to be, up and down. And then obviously their running back situation, are they going to stay with Keenan Johnson?
Oh, they're definitely staying with Kerryon Johnson.
Thank you.
He's as good as it gets for the Lions. He's the best running back they've had in years, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm loving Kerryon Johnson. I'm not interested in Riddick or Blunt or anybody else on this Lions backfield. But on the Seattle side, and I know Phil Chaplin is in here. He wrote a great article that he does every week now, news and notes for the upcoming weekend. The Lions rush defense, not very good. If you have Chris Carson or even Mike Davis, you probably could feel comfortable starting both. Of course, Carson's the guy that's expected to get the majority of the workload, but Seattle running game this week could be very, very good versus the Lions.
Where does he post that?
On Lenny Melnick, fantasysports.com.
I know. I'm there all the time, but I'm a chat room junkie. I guess I should look at all the other links one of these days. So I'm going to throw it out there, people. Go to Lenny Melnick, fantasysports.com. Join the chat room. It's active every day, 7 days a week. It's open 24/7. 365. So you can go there anytime. And you don't ever see people sometimes in there, but post a question. Usually it doesn't take long. Someone's watching, so even if you see something not posted over a certain amount of time, go ahead and jot a note or a question or something in there, and usually someone will answer it. I'm amazingly, sometimes almost right away, even though it doesn't look like anyone's active at the time. But people are usually in and out all the time and post stuff. So go there, do the chat room, and then start looking at some of the links. We're really working on the website and adding things and all that. So there's a lot of news and notes out there. And then obviously Lenny does baseball, pretty much Monday through Thursday, I think. And then Friday, you guys are on there talking baseball at 9 a.m. in the morning. Join that. And I don't know, have you been listening in between? I know California's a little different time, but that the break after the games, Steve Bateman and I think it's Baseball Jen, they've been doing a little show for about 20 minutes to a half hour on Sundays in that 7:30, 8 o'clock time frame when the early games are all done and you're waiting for that, late game, and they talk baseball. I'm assuming tonight they'll be talking, about the World Series and all that, since that'll start at 8:05. So
yeah, definitely. I have gotten to hear them, and of course JJ Work, and really all of the great podcasts we have on Lenny Melnick, FantasySports.com, and the Legend Sports Network. You mentioned Lenny Show. There's Thirsty Thursdays, JJ Work, Steve Bateman, yourself, Pitches Get Stitches, Drop the Mic, Hangover Friday, the First and Goal Show, you and I on Sunday. So lots of great content on the Legend Sports Network, live and on demand on Lenny Melnick, FantasySports.com.
And I was watching the game because the Jaguars. Yeah, I'm a tad behind you. I had 4th down and 2. I had to see what happened.
Yes, the Eagles forced turnover on downs. They're taking the ball over in Jacksonville territory already. A bit of a questionable call there by the Jacksonville team. Could have punted the ball from about midfield, chopped the Eagles back, played some defense. Instead, they give the Eagles a short field. An Eagles field goal even here in this game is over. So I really question that coaching decision by Doug Marrone there.
All right, I try to stay away from watching. It's hard when you're a sports guy. Arizona Cardinals, new offensive coordinator. Obviously coming off their bye week and everything. What are we expecting out of the Arizona Cardinals? And especially, a start sit question I got earlier was David Johnson or Latavius Murray.
I expect to see a lot more David Johnson than we've seen this season.
So are you starting him over Murray?
I am, and I'm actually using him quite a bit in DFS this week too. His price continues to drop. It's just $6,700 on DraftKings compared to Gurley at almost $10,000, Barkley at $8,800, Connor $7,500, Mixon $7,300, McCaffrey $7,000,
right? A lot of
$7,100. All those guys, and they might be as good or better than David Johnson right now this season. But the Johnson value is huge,
right?
In comparison. San Francisco's not a good team. We're not talking about a shutdown defense here. They're 28th against running backs this year in fantasy football are the San Francisco 49ers. So, yeah, David Johnson all day long.
Well, someone earlier today asked me Fitzpatrick or Westbrook. Obviously, Westbrook is already playing. I don't know how many yards he has. I know he at least caught a touchdown earlier. But what do you think we're going to see out of Fitzpatrick now?
Fitzgerald, I assume.
Fitzgerald, thank you.
Yes. Well, I mean, Larry has not been as good as we would have hoped for this year. I mean, obviously he's getting up there in age, but he really just has not performed to the high level that has been expected from him over the years. I mean, he has only 2 games this year of double-digit fantasy points. So I probably would have gone with D.D. Westbrook because I think there's a lot of offense we see in the London games. Of course, if you do have Larry, it's not a bad play. I mean, the 49ers are ranked 19th right now against the pass. They're not great. The game is in Arizona. But overall, D.D. probably would have been a safer play, but Larry will hopefully, put up 8-9 points for you.
Right.
Maybe he'll get that third double-digit game this week. Who knows?
All right, Chris Thompson's back. How does that affect Peterson? Not really a start sit. Somebody did that I know has both. I think I'm starting Peterson.
I don't think it affects either one. Similar to the Howard and Tariq Cohen situation in Chicago. One is the run between the tackles guy. One is primarily a pass catching guy. Both can coexist in the lineup. Similar to what we've seen with the Patriots too, when they have Michelle and White. Chris Thompson's going to do a lot of work in the passing game, especially with Alex Smith, captain dump off.
Right.
Peterson's going to get work between the tackles. Both these guys are viable options as RB2s or in the flex.
All right. Another general question, then I'll go through all my sit starts that I have listed here. With Mack being out for Chicago, what does that do for the Jets offense? Does it change anything there? Is there anybody, Crowell?
Well, it means that they might have more success running the football. It means that Darnold might have some more time in the pocket to get the ball downfield. But overall, I still think this Bears defense is good enough. I think their offense is going to do wonders as well against this Jets team today. And I said it the other day before I knew about the Mack injury. The game script, it will probably dictate that the Jets running game kind of taken out of things. And
right.
I really don't think it's going to make a huge difference. I mean, I think, again, there'll be some more time for Darnold, might be a couple more running lanes for Crowell. But I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. Although the Jets do have this Cannon kid who is now their backup to Crowell, with Bilal Powell being out. He might get the most work because he's the pass catching guy. I mean, just last week, I believe it was really his second game actually getting a lot of action. He caught 4 balls for 69 yards.
Right.
He's a guy that might actually have a better game than Crowell potentially.
And I have him listed earlier. Me and Chris were going through things on my Wednesday show, and I just have him marked and penciled down as one of those. If you have hey, most rosters, the word to say a spot to burn, but if you just do have, a spot that's, you can go, hey, I need to take a gamble. To me, he is one of those you could put on your bench, and then the next, obviously just even after this week, you could cut him if you had to. But hey, if something would happen to Crowell, or you just realize, hey, this offense has to throw the ball more, and he's going to be pretty active. I just have him as one of those free pickups, that you can, like I said, just sit and wait on.
Yeah, he also may be a future running back for them. So
sure,
I'd be interested in seeing what they are going to be able to get.
Because I think Crowell's only on a 1-year deal too, isn't he?
You know what? I don't remember what Crowell's contract situation is. I will tell you this week, Easy, in my Dynasty League, where I'm 6-1, have the most points in the league, I do have Julio Jones, Ezekiel Elliott, and Melvin Gordon all on a bye. I do have Alvin Kamara, but you have to start at least 2 running backs. My next best running back after those 3, Cannon.
Yeah, I mean, and again,
I have to use him.
And is it PPR?
It is PPR. I'm hoping for even 10 points, but these are the type of weeks where a guy like Cannon, if you have all those important players on a bye, these are the type of weeks you would use a guy like this.
Okay. Sorry, looked away. Now I got just some random start sit questions that I've gotten. And obviously these are just, I don't have a whole lot of details on all of them, but tight ends, Reed or Ingram for the Giants?
That's a good question. I mean, Jordan Reed is good when he gets the ball. Evan Ingram's missed a lot of time, but I do think that Evan Ingram has the higher upside week to week than that of Jordan Reed. If you want to look at the matchup, it's pretty much identical.
Yeah.
Giants 16th against the tight ends this year. Redskins 15th against the tight ends this year. I do think that Evan Ingram has a better chance to perform simply because I think the Washington secondary is going to be paying a lot of attention to OBJ, Sterling Shepard, and of course we know Barkley makes a lot of catches in the backfield too. That's going to leave Evan Ingram open at times. Whereas with Jordan Reed, he might be the one guy you try to defend for the Redskins because he's probably their best playmaker in the passing game.
And what do you think Reed's deal is? I mean, he's healthy. Supposedly, they're just not throwing the ball to him. I mean, is it just the new quarterback not comfortable? It just seems like if anyone would have said he was healthy and started, every game the first 8 weeks, you'd think you got a steal in the 8th or 9th round, which I think is where most people got him. No,
that is definitely where a lot of people got him. He had a really good week 1, 2, and 3, well over, he had a touchdown. He had over double-digit points. Since then, he's disappeared. And I think a lot of that is 1, he is the main guy to look out for there. 2, Adrian Peterson has made them into a running football team. Chris Thompson, when he's healthy, gets a lot of passes. But also, Vernon Davis is still there. He is technically the second tight end, but Alex Smith likes Vernon Davis. They've had
I've noticed that
back in San Francisco days. So sometimes it is a quarterback thing. Certain quarterbacks prefer certain players. They trust certain players more. And Jordan Reed, I mean, he's bound to have a good game here or there, but I think from an upside standpoint this week, I really like Evan Ingram.
Right.
Jordan Reed is not getting enough separation. He's not getting a good release off the line. And he's just not it looks like Chris Allen agrees with me. Chris Allen just
right. Sure, Chris is always going to agree with you. You guys
separating enough for Smith to throw his way. Absolutely, Chris. 100%.
Yeah, but I think that's normal for Reed. See, that's my point. Other quarterbacks have been willing to throw him in those tight things, realizing he'll win the 50-50, hell, he'll win the 40-60s.
Alex Smith doesn't have the arm strength.
Smith. All right. Mozart or Doug Martin?
Yikes. Probably Martin, because I've just read that Breida is actually active. He's playing.
Right. Okay.
So that 100% already puts him third in the pecking order to me. I don't like Doug Martin. I'm much more of a Jalen Richard guy moving forward, especially in PPR. But if you have to start one, it's probably Doug Martin.
All right. McCoy or Ivory or Marlon Mack?
Marlon Mack is out, I believe, this week. Actually,
For sure?
Never mind. My mistake. That was Khalil Mack. I saw Mack.
Right. Yeah. We're talking Marlon Mack, which I think
Marlon Mack's the guy to go with.
I mean, I think so too, and I'll look it up just to double check. Everything right now still shows that he is active. So I would agree.
Questionable, but he'll be playing. He is the favorite in that backfield when he's healthy. I trust him more.
Right. The key to me with Mack is, does he play, one quarter, and that's all. So that was the only issue. But then again, with McCoy, you have that issue too, but they have Ivory. So I'd agree. Marlon Mack would definitely probably be my
I like
issue.
him more in general, but also based on the matchups, based on the fact that we don't know how much Ivory or McCoy is going to play. We know they're going to be down by a lot of points. We don't know how they're going to be utilized moving forward after the first quarter. At least with Marlon Mack, you know that there's going to be a lot of action for in that game. That could be a huge shootout versus the Oakland Raiders. In fact, let's see how the Raiders are against running back so far this year.
I've got a question. Doug Martin or Sammy Watkins in the flex?
Probably Sammy Watkins. I just think he has a better floor. But I mean, some people are Doug Martin fans. I'm clearly
not. As much as they're using Hill, you would think Sammy would just be open once in a while. I mean, and I'm sure he is, but they'll throw to Hill with three people around him, and Sammy, is single covered. I don't get it. I agree. The problem is we don't really know what's going to happen in Oakland right now. Sammy Watkins is at least starting, even though he's a number 2. Doug Martin is starting, but we don't know, how active. So that's a little hard.
Jalen Richard a lot more. In a PPR, if it's kind of a toss-up with a non-pass catching running back and a wide receiver, I typically go with the wide receiver.
Right. This issue, I'd assume they have people that they can pick up off waivers versus what they have. This is, I guess, maybe it's 2 questions. Maybe they have 2 different teams. Ebron or Doyle, and then they said Howard Rudolph. So I don't know if that's just rate all 4 or if they have 2 different teams where one they have Ebron and Doyle, which wouldn't be uncommon to be real honest. And then the other that looks like a second question then would be Howard versus Rudolph. Again, tight ends are just tough this year.
They are, and Oakland hasn't been too bad against the tight ends this year. They ranked 10th in the league. The fact that Doyle is back is a good thing for the Colts. It's bad for fantasy owners who own Ebron or Doyle. So not a huge fan of either one of those guys. I do like O.J. Howard quite a bit this week. Good matchup. The Bengals have been terrible against the tight end. League worst against the tight end. Howard certainly appears to be the favorite there over Cameron Brate. With Kyle Rudolph, might be second on that list simply because he doesn't have another tight end to split with the Doyle and Ebron situation. But Ebron has been money this year despite a bunch of drops. If it's all 4 of those guys, O.J. Howard by a mile. After that, just go with your gut.
All right. And I'm assuming, well, again, because we now know that Robinson for the Bears is definitely out. I saw him inactive. So this question would come down to Allison versus Funches versus Robinson. I'm assuming Allison's the answer now.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in that Rams-Packers game. Rams are going to have to put up a lot of points to stick with the Rams. The Packers are going to have to put up a lot of points to stick with the Rams. I think I said the Rams have to put up a lot of points to stick with the Rams. Which I
sure.
The Packers are going to have to throw the football. I don't like any of their running backs this week because of that. I think Adams could have 2. I think Rodgers could end up throwing for 4 touchdowns and still losing this game. I think something like a 38-31, 38-28 type win for the Rams.
And again, I'm assuming with Robinson out, it definitely bumps Burton up a bunch again. Another big week.
Taylor Gabriel might become their number one receiver this week.
Yeah, at least he's healthy. And then Cohen obviously, can catch the ball and comes out of the backfield. So,
oh yeah, of course. And you know what? I have a lineup this week where I was trying to decide between Sterling Shepard and Taylor Gabriel in DFS. I had Shepard, but now that Mr. Robinson is out, I think Gabriel is definitely the better start. So if you do have Gabriel and at one point you had him out of your lineup because you were unsure, he's the guy. He's the go-to guy now. He's right as their top receiver with Robinson out. And the Jets 32nd versus wide receivers this year. So Taylor Gabriel, big play. In fact, I might have him in some more lineups now because of it.
Again, two players we've already talked about. And this question has the third one in there, and this is Watkins, Cobb, Jones. I'm assuming they have to start one.
Watkins, Cobb, Jones, Marvin Jones.
Yeah.
I honestly want to go with Cobb, although it's really a tough call.
I would agree. That's the problem with sit start. I would say of all the questions I answer or get or have to post or when we do these shows, I mean, obviously people ask start sit questions because they are tough. There's always have a quarter ready with you here and there. So, I'd agree. I would say if Cobb's healthy, he has a shot, I think, at getting the most looks and obviously a touchdown.
They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. He also has the best quarterback of them.
Yeah, I'd agree. The last one I have is only because what we talked in with Mac being out. That's a defense question: Ravens versus Bears, and this is my team. I've had this issue every damn week. I still can't trade and hate to drop either defense. But luckily, this is on a team that I'm fairly competitive. And actually, I think I'm in. I've only lost one game. So the Bears and the Ravens are the two defenses I happen to have. I was starting the Bears because I think the Jets is a better shot at turnovers and all that. But with Mac out, less chances sacks.
To me, I'm going one with the whole team, which is the Bears. The Ravens, I believe, are on the road in Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. The Bears are at home. It's very windy in Chicago. The Jets have a rookie quarterback who is very turnover prone. To me, higher upside for the Chicago Bears, 100%. I would not be surprised if they had a pick six. I would not be surprised if there was some missed field goals in this game, which leads to good field position. I think the Bears are definitely the stronger pick. And the Ravens are always a good defensive play. But if you have an option like the Bears with or without Khalil Mack at home versus the Jets, you got to go with the Bears.
I'd agree. And that's what I've got set right at the moment anyway. I just thought I'd throw it out there, keep people on their toes. You got to have a defense. I'm sure we don't have any start sit kicker questions. But I definitely wouldn't have a problem. And he's in there a lot in the Green Bay. Again, I think it's going to be a high scoring thing. I know he had an issue a couple of weeks ago. A lot of people dropped him and he came back last week and kicked. It's not Cobb, is it? What's the Green Bay's kickers?
Mason Crosby.
I think at some point he's one of the top 4 or 5, even that bad week. He's up, in there. So I know a lot of us don't talk. We don't talk kickers much, but in a game where there's going to be a lot of offense, you usually, that's where you want to look for a kicker. Don't ignore it all the time. Some people do, but definitely look that direction. So that's all I have.
For me, how I do roll with the kickers. I look for guys who have already been on their bye week.
Nowadays, I kind of agree. But again, and I think we had this talk, or I did it with Chris. My issue with that is, I just try to get the best guy that week because, again, I do use my kicker slot. I'll drop a kicker early in a week and pick up somebody that if there's injury issues or questions to wait and see, and then I'll drop him at the end and, and switch back. You know what I'm saying? So, the problem is if you get a decent guy that has no bye week left or a good defense has no bye week, then you're strapped again on who you can, do that. But we're also getting 2 or 3 weeks down the road. We'll be starting, if you're definitely a playoff team, then to me now you want to look ahead at least on defenses, maybe picking up an extra one or picking up your backup for your running backs and things like that and tighten up your team, get ready for your playoffs. I know we're still a few weeks out, but I still use my kicker spot to do a lot of weird stuff during a week, but warm weather, big scoring game. That's kind of what I look for. So Weather-wise, Chris, there's not much weather going on. Chicago a little windy, but not much. But like you said, maybe affects the Jets a little bit. So we'll go there. I know weather should be pretty nice in LA tonight for the ball game. So I'll have that on. And I'm trying to think, who is our Sunday night football game? Saints Vikings. That's a good game. So we got we'll have the World Series on plus that, and I know there's multiple basketball going on. Easy late at night. I'll have a bunch of basketball games up in there, so I keep track of my fantasy basketball stuff. So that'll be fun. All right, this is. I've had a good time. Unless you have any quick notes, sit starts that you had. Is there anything else?
No, I don't really have any. And you asked me about certain ones that I, kind of had to deal with this morning before we got on here. So I don't personally have anything else that really stands out to me at this point. It's funny. You mentioned the tight ends are kind of frustrating this week, at least in all my daily lineups. 4 of my 6 lineups have double tight end. I have tight end in the tight end position, tight end in the flex, and in one of my season longs, I have double tight ends this week with Howard and Olsen. Yeah,
I mean, unfortunately, and if that's what you have to do, it's what you have to do, and hopefully you have a couple good choices. But no one really wants to have 2 tight ends in their lineup if they can keep from it. But
Kelsey, no.
Yeah, you're hoping for obviously a touchdown out of any of them.
I do like this kid on the Bengals though, CJ Uzoma.
Uzoma, I would agree.
I do like him specifically in DFS 3,500. We know the Bucs can't stop the pass. Obviously, AJ Green and Boyd are going to get a lot of work. Obviously, Mixon's going to get a lot of work. But everyone looks at
right.
It's going to leave Uzoma open in the middle of the field.
And I know you're going to trash me. It's an all-day football because we had the early morning game, which we had a big discussion on the last round table about the early games and who likes them and all that. But you know what? It's pizza day here for you people that are concerned about the menu here. I do hot dogs and taco salad and chips and dip because the pizza doesn't come till about 4:00. It is hard work. I had to go to the bar last night where I ordered the pizzas. I had to drink about 3 beers, while I waited to place my order for my pizzas today.
Life. I can't.
It was.
Go and drink those.
I did it. Right. I mean, so the bar delivers the pizzas and all that. So, it is pizza day here. So it's pretty lame. Hot dog taco, get you through the first game, taco salad, and then pizza later today. For people who want to know, I mean, there are people out there that just want to know what, we're doing for, the menu today. And you're welcome. You're welcome to stop by, today there, Lou, if you get out of the house. So,
firstly, not going to happen because I don't leave when there's football on.
Me neither.
By the time I got to your place, all the games would be over.
That's true. Right. I think
we have a nice menu here today too. We have some chocolate covered pretzels with M&Ms there.
There you go.
Jalapeno stuffed with cream cheese wrapped in bacon. We have some Dodger dogs. We have some shrimp pasta. We have pizza. So
holy cow! Is it just you and your fiance?
Well, for now, but we have some neighbors that we'd like to feed.
On football day,
people who might stop by for some food. You never know.
Right.
The simple part is when he goes to work tomorrow, there's lots of leftovers for Lou.
Yeah, we do that too. I mean, that's the thing. We ordered 3 big pizzas, and that's the thing. On Sunday, I can have there's every once in a while it's just me and Mrs. Easy, and but usually there's 5, 6, 7, 8 people, so you got to order enough for everybody. And worst case, we have leftover pizza in the next few days. So
we have tons of veggies and dip. We're gonna have a veggie platter.
Yeah, we do. Right.
Cheese platter with some dip.
Sit, start. Carrots or celery?
I'm more of a carrot guy. I like the carrot.
I know, but there's something about that groove in the celery
that involved. Celery actually might be preferred because celery has no taste, obviously.
Right. It just holds the hummus.
Yes, exactly.
All right, we're going to end it on that. David Price. Check everybody out at the LennyMelnickFantasySports.com. We're all over there. There's shows every day. Lou, just when's your next show? When are you going to be on?
Tuesday morning, First and Goal show. for the Week 8 recap. Of course, Tuesday night with you on the roundtable. I'm on air
all the time,
or at least 5 times a week on Lenny Mounting Fan.
Right. All right.
7 or 8 times a week, pretty much. If you want me to do a podcast, just
call. Yeah.
I'll just go live.
Right. If you have Lou's Twitter handle, you know, he will do a podcast with you.
And I'll do on-demand podcasts, not in the sense that you're thinking, where you can listen after. I mean, you come to me, you demand a podcast, I'll just jump on and talk for you.
And again, you did that for me once. Like I said, I even was in the chat room just saying, hey, unfortunately, Chris is sick and I'm not going to do much or do anything tonight. And you went, oh, come on. Like, all right, we're good to go. So, all right. Again, we got to end this because we got football here in the next 15 minutes. Again, this has been a Fantasy Fan easy on a Sunday morning edition with at Landers Talks. I'm just Easy Kill at afantasyfan.com. We appreciate y'all coming out. Enjoy your football today. Enjoy your baseball tonight. A lot going on. And we will see you next Sunday. Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
This has been Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. And to keep your fantasies going, follow us at justafantasyfan.com. Say good night. Good night.